New year, new episode. Time to get down to business. But this particular bit of business is off limits. For now. I still want to show you that it happened, I just don't want to spoil any specifics. You people are far too adept at interpreting rough sketches. This is my outline stage. I've tried writing out full scripts. I tried writing one for this episode. It just doesn't work for me. I want the visuals to carry most of this story, so the story has to be figured out visually. I need to see how one image is going to lead into another. I have a couple of horror moments in this one that sounded fine in writing, but until I was able to sketch them out, I couldn't tell if they actually worked or not. By the way, they didn't. I reworked entire sequences by doodling them. I'm imitating the approach that George Miller took with Mad Max: Fury Road. He knew he was making a visual-centric movie with very little dialogue. The first draft of the story was drawn out, and from there they created a 300-page storyboard in place of a script. I know this is only episode 3, but I can safely say that this is how I'm going to be writing the rest of Dead Gods. Show, don't tell, all the way down to the bones. One last thing about the outline. I hate stories that were clearly started before the ending was figured out. It takes incredible hubris to think you can make up a story as you go along and just figure out an elegant ending when the time comes. You can't. We can all tell. It always devolves into incoherence and disappointment. For Tellurian, I didn't start image 1 until I had the whole narrative outlined from beginning to end. Because I did that, I could start foreshadowing things right out of the gate. I could create themes and symbolism with confidence because I knew exactly how everything fit into the whole. For Dead Gods, I know where this series as a whole ends. It may be one of the most ancient spoilers in human history. For each episode, I promise to never draw the first panel until I know how that individual story ends. So with the episode outline now complete, I can safely move on to panel 1. We open with an establishing shot. This is a continuation from the last episode, and our characters have been traveling deeper into the jungle. Starting out, my goal was to create a sense of depth. I wanted this location to feel overwhelming, with massive trees stretching out into the far distance. Line work is a great tool, but there are some things it's not as good at. In this case, I was trying to figure out a composition that I liked, so using bigger shapes to block in the trees and dinosaurs helped me to get a better understanding of what the final layout might actually look like. This shot is meant to be a very classic prehistoric image. I want to establish the baseline that this is the world of dinosaurs you're familiar with. I adjusted the curves to turn my black and white sketch into a late sunset color scheme. I stopped here, and I thought about it. This composition had the depth that I wanted, but the focus was in the wrong place. I had lost my 3 characters. The dinosaurs became the obvious focal point. The jungle and sky started to look too even, almost like wallpaper. So I painted over my first draft, starting with the characters. They're our vehicle through the story. We have to start with them, so I increased their scale. I also turned the flat orange sky into a gradient so that our eye would be led back to the highest point of contrast, the figures. This is also where I took advantage of using black. I've been too timid with it, so it was time to jump into the deep end of the pool. With my figures more legible, I wanted to make sure that the rest of the elements in the shot were supporting them. Everything should lead back to them. From foreground elements, to the dinosaurs' poses, to the trees in the background, to the mist rising from the swamp. I tried to make sure that each piece was either radiating from the characters like ripples or pointing directly towards them. With the finishing touch of an oversized sunset, I felt like I had a stronger composition. It was no longer the kind of establishing shot that I had intended, but it supported the story far better, which makes it a win. I'm trying to skip steps in the process to keep my line work feeling more dynamic, so at this point I just jump straight into the inking stage. While this plays out, a couple reminders. Something has happened to storytelling. There are vast creative territories that have remained untouched for a long time. I don't think we can wait for other people to explore those regions for us. We're going to have to tell those stories ourselves. If you like where this project is going and you want to be a part of exploring this creative landscape with me, there are a few ways you can help. grasp YouTube by the scruff of its buttons and bully it into promoting this video series by liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment telling me what the word practical means to you. I'm thinking of doing a video on that poor, beleaguered word. You can also sign up on Patreon. Higher tiers get access to a private Discord server of creative and friendly people that's been growing rapidly. I try to post regular progress images as well as sketches that I don't post anywhere else. Dragon tiers get their names in the video credits, and they get to vote on aspects of this project. In fact, they voted for this story to be the next one I worked on. I was tempted by a flashback episode, and they talked me down. Finally, if you like visual storytelling, pick up a copy of my previous story, Tellurian. It's a love letter to the kinds of stories that influenced me, like Disney's Atlantis, The Lost Empire, and Treasure Planet. Links for all of that stuff are in the description. So here we have panel 1. An establishing shot of our characters working their way through a jungle swamp. By spending a little extra time on the composition, I was able to save a ton of time putting the final image together. Since I'm getting back into the swing of things after the Christmas break, I decided to do some figure drawing to brush up. I wish that drawing was like riding a bike, something you never forget. Unfortunately, it's more like holding onto a fistful of sand. It keeps slipping out, and it has to be replenished regularly. Time spent on the fundamentals is always worth it. This helped me to come up with a plan for future videos. I'm going to be running popular characters through my antediluvian design system. Essentially, what if blank was in the world of dead gods? I have several reasons for this. 1, I want to keep practicing my fundamentals, and this is a great way to work on my drawing skills while also keeping it thematically relevant to this project. 2, after more than a year of figuring out this setting, I believe I have a system for it. A list of guidelines and restrictions that I can apply to just about anything to make sure it fits within this setting. This will give me a chance to continue to test that system out. 3, stretching myself to redesign familiar characters in this world is likely to give me ideas that I wouldn't have had otherwise. These designs will never be included in the story, but by trying to solve them, they may unlock other cool ideas for unique characters or narratives that I can use later. Number 4, it can act as an entry point for new viewers. This risks being the most cynical reason on the list, but the reality is that we live in the age of the algorithm. A lot of people might swipe past a world-building project they don't recognize, but perhaps a few will stick around to see the prehistoric version of a character they like. In summary, I'll get to practice drawing, test out my rule set, brainstorm new ideas, and game the system to grow my audience. It's potentially a win-win-win-win scenario. For this first edition, I thought Harley Quinn would be a great place to start. In future episodes, my dragon patrons will be able to vote on which characters they'd like to see next. We will all be at their mercy. I decided to start with Harley Quinn because she seems like a natural fit for this world. She's chaotic, impulsive, and morally dubious. In many ways, she'd be right at home in the antediluvian world. I imagine that the obsessive devotion she had towards the Joker would translate well to a fixation on the powerful Nephilim. The Nephilim were the tyrannical giant offspring of fallen angels and human women. Various texts and traditions describe them as having pale skin, red hair, blood-stained mouths, and favoring high contrast patterns. Harley is a human, but chooses to adorn herself like one of them. When the Nephilim's bodies died, their spirits lingered on the earth and have continued to torment humanity ever since. For millennia, humans have performed rituals while adorning themselves in their image, to summon them, hoping to gain their knowledge and power. These practices evolved over time, at one point taking the form of the Harlequin. I used diamonds from her original character design to create a costume appropriate to the dense, warm greenhouse climate. She wears a necklace of teeth vials around her neck, which have been hollowed out to carry various mind-altering pharmakia substances. She can use them herself, but they can also be used against her enemies. Her horns are made from braided hair, similar to other giants I've designed previously. She carries a large mace shaped like a simplified skull with many faces. Her skin is painted red, but you can still see some diamond-shaped spells tattooed underneath. So there we have it. Harley Quinn in the prehistoric world of dead gods. Thanks for watching.